You ever stop and think about what happens when you create a meeting and just click send? I mean, it feels totally instant, right? But behind that one simple click is this incredible high-speed journey happening in the cloud. And today, we're going to follow that journey.
So, what is actually going on back there with that invite for your team's weekly meeting? Because as we're about to see, it's a whole lot more complex than just sending a simple email. You can think of it like a tiny digital message on a mission. It's on this wild adventure through the cloud, and we're going to trace its exact path from the moment it leaves your screen to the second it lands on your colleague's calendar. Our little journey starts right now. So let's start with our hero, the humble calendar invite. It seems so small, so simple, but it's actually this really powerful request. The second you create it, it kicks off a whole cascade of events in a system that's been built for one very specific purpose. And what is that purpose? Well, the system has a few really important goals. Sure, it's got to send the invite, but it also has to make sure it's in a universal iCal format that any calendar app can understand. And maybe most importantly, it's designed with one critical rule. Make absolutely certain that each person only gets one invite. No spam, no duplicates, period. Okay, so you've clicked send. Where does our invite go first? You might think it goes straight to an email server, but nope. It enters the system at a very specific and very important first stop. And that first stop is a service called Amazon SQS, which stands for Simple Queue Service. Honestly, the best way to think about this is like a super smart digital mailbox. It's basically a waiting room where every single invite request gets in line, all waiting patiently to be processed, one by one. But, that might sound like an extra step you don't need, right? I mean, why have a waiting room at all? Why not just fire off the email directly the second you hit send? Well, there's a really, really good reason for this. And that reason is all about reliability. Using a queue, that smart mailbox, guarantees that no invite ever gets lost in the shuffle. Imagine thousands of people hitting send at the exact same moment. Without a queue, the system would probably crash. But with it, the queue just holds on to all those requests and feeds them to the processor in an orderly way. It means the system can handle massive volume without even breaking a sweat. So once our invite makes it to the very front of that line, it gets sent over to the brain of the whole operation. We can think of this as a totally automated sorting center. This, right here, is where the magic really starts to happen. This sorting center is what's called a serverless function, in this case, AWS Lambda. Now, serverless just means it's like a hyper-efficient worker that's basically asleep, using zero energy until our invite arrives from the mailbox. The moment that request comes in, bam, it instantly springs into action to do its job. So what's its job look like? Well, it's this perfect five-step loop. First, the new message in the queue wakes Lambda up. Lambda then grabs all the details, generates the iCal file, and sends the invite. But these last two steps are absolutely crucial for making sure the system is reliable. It logs everything it just did into a central database, and then, this is key, it deletes the original request so that that same invite can never be sent twice. Now, this is really cool. We can actually translate the technical code names into simple, real-world jobs. The Lambda handler, that's the manager, checking every message that comes in. The attendee has not been sent function is like the fact checker, making absolutely sure we're not about to send a duplicate. Then you've got the send invite to attendee, who's the mailroom clerk, packaging and sending the actual email. The create record of attendee is the bookkeeper, logging everything that happened. And finally, delete successfully processed SQS is the cleaner, who tidies up afterward so the whole process can start fresh for the next invite. It's like a little office in there. Okay, so our invite has been processed by the sorting center. Now it is time for the final two steps in its journey: the actual delivery, and, just as important, creating a permanent memory that the delivery even happened. Two totally different services handle these last jobs. On one side, you have the messenger, Amazon SES. Think of it as a specialized delivery fleet built just for sending email. And on the other side, you have the record keeper, Amazon DynamoDB. This is a super fast database that acts as a permanent central records office. So to put it simply, one sends, the other remembers. So, what's the point of this perfect memory, this record keeper? Well, think about it. By tracking every single attendee, their RSVP status, and the entire history of invites, the system creates what's called a single source of truth. This is what lets you see who's accepted your meeting, and it's what gives that fact checker the info it needs to prevent duplicates. All right, now that we've seen all the individual stops on our invites journey, let's zoom out for a second and look at how all of these pieces fit together to create one really powerful, scalable system. So the whole thing is about the flow, right? Our little calendar invite travels from a simple queue that prevents the system from getting overloaded to a smart processor that does all the heavy lifting, and then it relies on a dedicated delivery service to send the message and a perfect memory to record that it was sent. Each part has one clear job, and it does it perfectly. And this system isn't just efficient, it is built to be tough because of these safeguards. It's constantly checking its own memory to prevent spamming people with duplicates. If for some reason an email fails to send, the whole system doesn't crash. It just logs the problem so someone can fix it later. And by cleaning up every single successful request, it guarantees an invite is never, ever accidentally resent. It's built not to fail.
And all of that, every single step, happens in the blink of an eye every single time you send a calendar invite. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other simple, everyday clicks in your digital life are hiding this much fascinating complexity just beneath the surface? Thanks so much for joining me on this journey.